Dick Curtis is at the core of the Pioneertown story. An actor known for villainous roles is said to have formed the idea while filming Daniel Boone in Old Wyoming Trail at the Iverson Ranch. As rumor has it, Dick had loaned $25 to an elderly woman who gave a deed in return. While he didn't keep the land, he sold it for a desert property and set out to inspect it. Likely he traversed the early route of Pioneertown Road and found himself in the Morongo Basin, a valley in eastern San Bernardino County with a dry summer and cool winter. Morongo is considered a Serrano word for Moringa, the people from Mara, a place of origin, and Captain John Morongo was a leader of the Serrano, acting on behalf of the Bureau of Indian Affairs during the forced removal to the Banning Reservation in 1876. The settlers anglicized the name, and the government referred to the first people as the Morongo Band of Mission Indians, but this included a vast group of tribes. Curtis saw the possibility of working and living in an 1880-themed Western movie town. New films took time, finances, and energy to build elaborate sets only to have them dismantled. Iverson indeed had a clause to keep sets, but this was different, and being mostly facades, the buildings aged and appeared better for ramshackle ghost towns. In 1945, during the filming of Song of Arizona, the cast of Dick Curtis, Roy Rogers, and Dale Evans, among others, started discussing the benefits of a permanent movie set they could own away from the city noise with a natural western landscape. Curtis believed that having businesses on the set would support production costs, maintain the buildings, and make the set a desirable tourist destination when filming was not occurring. It was twofold. The restaurants would help feed the crew, a motel could house them, a ranch could care for the horses, and even a general store would have the supplies. This endeavor would bring jobs to the community, and those willing could act as extras in the film. The quiet mountain valley of the Morongo Basin, with its desert rock formations, mesas, and canyons, became the perfect spot to bring this vision to life. Roy Rogers, who had had a Western singing group called the Sons of the Pioneers, helped Dick pitch the idea to investors. 18 total, and they named the project after Roy's band. Originally, the idea was to name it Rogersville. However, songwriter Tim Spencer wrote a catchy jingle called Out in Pioneertown, and everyone loved it. In 1946, each investor gave $500, equivalent to $8,000 today, to purchase the 32,000 acres and be part of the Pioneertown Corporation. Additionally, they would need to borrow another $60,000 from brokers and developers using the title to Pioneertown as collateral. If they could attract residential buyers, Main Street, spelled M-A-N-E, could still act as a set in a commercial district. On September 1st, the successful groundbreaking saw 5,000 people in attendance. Hundreds of families purchased 1 to 10 acres of property, and Main Street boasted over 30 buildings. Every weekend there would be activities for thousands, whether it was the Sunday Shodio by the Saddle Club or a unique event like the Labor Day Fiesta. In filming, Pioneertown suffered a slow start due to Hollywood's TMZ, or 30-mile zone, where studios would have to pay the union workers extra if they went to a job outside the 30-mile radius. Iverson, Lasky, Monogram, and Cuneo were all within the studio zone, while Pioneertown was over 100 miles away. Another factor was the increased competition for filming, and between 1946 and 1949, places like Spawn Ranch, Jack Ingram's Movie Ranch, and Corriganville opened. It took another independent filmmaker named Philip N. Krasny to bite the bullet, so to speak, with his Cisco Kid franchise. Philip owned 40 acres and leased 32,000 acres for 25 years. Shortly after, Gene Autry started filming in Pioneertown, sparking a general interest in tourists visiting the area, especially with the theatrical short Unusual Occupations in 1947, which featured a town parade and Autry working with his horses. In the same year, the local paper wrote about the Corny Carnival, a 3-day event starting on Halloween that was a benefit to build a school. The event featured quarter horse racing, a Western fashion parade, dancing, a concert by the Sons of the Pioneers, and celebrity appearances. Eventually, the school was built, and Pearl Jones, spouse of one of the Red Dog's owners, took the role of teacher. But early life was still difficult, and tents and shacks spotted the area. If you had electricity, you were lucky, for power came from a diesel generator that lit Main Street for several years. People ate their meals over open flames or wood stoves, and the Red Dog Saloon boasted the only shower in town. On December 15, 1948, the Cisco Kid's Valiant Hombre was the first film to be released showing the magic surrounding Pioneertown. Russell Hayden blasted a roadway and took over the business side of things as president and let his friend Dick focus on acting. Shareholders would see a profit, and by the end of 1949, Pioneertown would lay claim to 4 Cisco Kid films and 2 Autry films. In the following year, Pioneertown was calling itself a dude ranch and was electing dues for membership of the exclusive club for all things Western. Then in 1950, Cisco Kid Satan's Cradle used around 100 locals to fit the roles of storekeepers, saloon frequenters, horsemen, and farmers, among other townsfolk. There was a massive cost savings. An extra would typically make about $40 a day, but for the locals, the standard was just $15.50. With the advent of television, the Cisco Kid and the weekly Gene Autry shows utilized Pioneertown as their backdrop. Usually you'd find the Red Dog Saloon, Grub Steak, Golden Stallion, Pioneertown Gazette, and Townhouse in a scene. More films would be produced, including 7 by Autry through 1953. However, the same year, he purchased the Monogram Movie Ranch and relocated some of his production to what he named Melody Ranch. Autry continued to use Pioneertown for his Flying A productions of the Range Rider, Annie Oakley, and Buffalo Bill Jr., and his last film, The Last of the Pony Riders. Other shows in the area included Hopalong Cassidy and Judge Roy Bean. Unfortunately, on June 30th, 1953, Pioneertown was in default with the initial loan, which now exceeded $80,000. Foreclosure and an auction were necessary, and Philip Krasny, involved in a 25-year lease, tried to stall. Still, 2 Los Angeles auto dealers, Fletcher Jones and William Murphy, won out on December 30th in the San Bernardino County Courthouse, paying the sum. By 1954, with a change in ownership and a downward trend from Westerns, businesses closed and many left, leaving Pioneertown nearly another ghost town. Over 60 locals stayed year-long and believed the newly paved Big Bear Road would bring in more travelers. But the dream of Dick Curtis wasn't over, and his utopian Western-themed town kept new generations engaged, living it and revitalizing its charm. The entrance to the village bears a sign similar to its first: horseless carriages ain't allowed on Main Street. And so began the loop with Clip and Curl Hair Saloon, where a former barber once acted the part in a Cisco Kid feature. The marshal's office once housed the Carol Burgess gift shop. Very little is known about this, but the 1950s census shows she may have been one of the very few living all year round. Liquor Bar in the past also served as a visitor center, the Golden Nugget Coffee Shop, and Honeyfeller's real estate office. Pioneer Bowl was built in 1946 by A.E. Thompson and officially opened when Roy Rogers struck the first pins in 1949. Mrs. Thompson, a.k.a. Cactus Kate, who also operated the motel, oversaw its business. The first post office was located in the back of the building before being moved. The building acted as a central place for actors and extras to shoot pool, bowl, stand up to a bar, or play in the arcade. Notably, the wall mural by Wallace Rowland Stark reflects the early Hollywood era. Bill Bridge opened his Trigger Bill's Shooting Gallery, a small Western museum along with it. Bridges was a bit player in the days of Douglas Fairbanks Sr. and wrangled horses for some of the movie companies making westerns. Now at the soundstage, Hollywood producer Philip N. Krasny acquired the movie rights to the area from the Pioneertown Corporation and built the soundstage on Main Street. While much of the filming took place outside, most indoor filming was done on sets within the soundstage. It was first called the Silver Dollar. Red Dog Saloon is quintessential to Pioneertown, and thanks to its first owners, Al Lips and Don Cox, was described with swinging doors, 10-cent Nickelodeon, a train car in the back, and a beat-up piano for atmosphere. Many stars graced its French-made bar, with faces of characters surrounding it and signs such as "Notice to Thieves, Thugs, Fakers, and Bunco Steerers." The floor was painted with a woman's face, a longtime entertainer of the bar named Dazzling Dallas Morley. While a fire engulfed the Red Dog just 2 days before the Golden Stallion, it was rebuilt and is all the more charming even today. While the Pioneertown Gazette is no longer published, at one time was the Jackass Mail. Across the street from the Gazette is a concrete slab specially built for open-air dances. Pappy and Harriet's Pioneertown Palace. The adobe building was once called the Cantina, and in the 1970s and further back served as a gas station and a Pony Express office. Nowadays, it's internationally known and is frequently reported on by rock critics. Harriet and Claude Pappy Allen bought the Cantina in 1982 and rebranded it. Pappy was as beloved as the Western stars before him, and when he died in 1994, hundreds of mourners attended his memorial. Missing from the scene is the Golden Stallion, which burned down on Easter morning in 1966. Made up of used railroad ties, it was known for its Chinese food, steaks, and oysters. At the time, it had 50-cent slot machines with songs like Dorothy Lamour's One Rose. While it was not open all year round, it was a local hangout. Frank Gee, a celebrated chef, was one of the original proprietors. Actor Jack Bailey purchased the restaurant before its ill-fated fire. The Pioneertown Motel, originally called the Townhouse and briefly the Golden Stallion Lodge, was also owned by Jack Bailey. Actress Lillian Thompson, a.k.a. Cactus Kate, was the most famous manager of the 20-unit hotel, who once requested to park your iron at the front desk. Stars and extras would find their beds here, and Gene Autry used to play cards in room number 9. This has been Biographies of the West. My name is Lorin Morgan-Richards. Thanks for watching.